남들 손에 그 정보가 넘어가게 되면 걘 죽은 목숨이나 마찬가지야.
Welcome back to Top Stream Finds. Today we're diving into the top 10 highly brutal best Korean action movies hiding on Netflix and Prime you need to check out now. If you're craving bone-crushing fights, merciless gang wars, and that signature Korean intensity that leaves Hollywood in the dust, you're in the right spot. These movies are violent, stylish, and relentless from the first frame to the last. Stick around till the end because number 1 takes brutality to a whole new level. Let's jump in. Number 10, The Divine Move 2. The Wrathful. This is a razor-sharp, high-stakes Korean neo-noir action movie that drags you into a brutal world of go, vengeance, and life-or-death gambles from the very first frame. The story follows Guisu, who loses everything when his father ruins them both through reckless go gambling. Alone and broken, he is taken in by a master teacher and trains viciously, not just to play, but to dominate. As he climbs into the dangerous underground go circuit, he battles ruthless rivals and chases revenge against those who killed his old life. What makes this movie great is how it fuses cerebral strategy with raw action. You're not just watching a board game, you're feeling the tension of every move, the weight of every bet, and the threat behind every face-off. If you want a high-intensity action movie that's as smart as it is brutal, this movie is your next binge. A ruthless revenge story played out on the board and on the streets. Now streaming on Netflix. Number 9, The Merciless. This is a dark, high-stakes Korean crime movie that drags you into a world of betrayal, power, and prison codes from the first moment. The story follows Jae-ho, a ruthless gangster who rules inside a prison, and Hyun-soo, a young man secretly planted as an undercover cop. They forge a dangerous alliance. Hyun-soo plays loyal student, Jae-ho plays mentor as they plot to take over a criminal syndicate once they're out. But loyalty is fragile, and betrayal lurks in every smile. What hooks you is the electric tension between these two: raw ambition, shifting power, and moral ambiguity. The violence hits hard, the double crosses sting, and the noir atmosphere makes you constantly question who's really using who. If you want a ruthless crime saga packed with grit, strategy, and betrayal, this movie is the one to add to your list, now streaming on Netflix. Number 8, Officer Black Belt. This is a sharp, high-energy Korean action movie that hits you with crisp martial arts choreography and nonstop edge-of-your-seat mayhem from the first scene. The story follows Lee Jung-do, a martial arts prodigy with black belts in every discipline, suddenly recruited as a martial arts officer, handling dangerous parolees. What starts as routine assignments explodes into wild chases, chaotic fights, and high-stakes disasters. Every mission pushes Jung-do further into the criminal underworld he didn't expect. What pulls you in is the mix of jaw-dropping action and sharp comedic timing. Every fights land with impact, stunts excite, and twists that keep you guessing. It's fast, funny, and impossible to look away from. If you want a fun, high-impact Korean action ride with personality, precision, and non-stop movement, this movie is the one you queue up next, now streaming on Netflix. Number 7, Deliver Us from Evil. This is a brutal, no-holds-barred Korean action movie that pulls you in from the first frame with cold tension and raw desperation. The story follows In Nam, a retired hitman who's pulled back into the game when he discovers a little girl is kidnapped and the case is tied to his shadowy past. As he dives into the underworld, he faces off against Ray, a ruthless gangster hunting him with vengeance for a murder he can't forget. What hooks you is the gritty emotional weight, the tense duel between the assassin and the gangster, and the constant moral gamble, redemption, and violence collide. If you want a high-stakes, relentless action movie that's as smart as it is savage, this movie is your next binge now, streaming on Netflix. Number 6, Knuckle Girl. This is a gritty, high-stakes action movie that throws you straight into the underground fighting world from the first punch. The fights are brutal, the stakes are high, and the tension never lets up. The story follows Ran Tachibana, a professional boxer whose younger sister is suddenly kidnapped. To save her, Ran must dive into a violent criminal underworld, swapping her gloves for brass knuckles and facing death matches where every opponent is deadlier than the last. With each fight, she uncovers layers of corruption and betrayal that make the stakes more personal than she ever imagined. What pulls you in is the raw mix of skill, emotion, and grit. Every punch lands with weight, every showdown keeps you on edge, and every twist reveals a darker side of the underground world. It's fast, fierce, and impossible to look away from. If you want a thrilling, female-led action ride packed with heart, fists, and high-octane intensity, Knuckle Girl is the one you queue up next, now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Number 5. Yaka, Ruthless Operation.
놈들 손에 그 정보가 넘어가게 되면 걘 죽은 목숨이나 마찬가지야.
This is a tense, high-octane Korean spy movie that plunges you into a world of secrets, black ops, and ruthless ambition from the first frame. The story follows Han Ji-hoon, a straight-edge prosecutor demoted to join a covert NIS Black Ops unit in Shenyang under the fearsome leader Ji Kang-in, aka Yaksha. What begins as a simple inspection spirals into betrayals, false flag operations, and a deadly mission to extract a North Korean defector. As allegiances shatter, Ji-hoon must navigate spies from multiple nations and decide how much he's willing to sacrifice for the truth. What pulls you in is the blend of razor-sharp espionage and unrelenting action. Covert operations collide with moral conflict, gunfights flare, and loyalties shift beneath neon-lit streets. It's cerebral, brutal, and emotionally charged. If you're in the mood for a smart, edge-of-your-seat spy action movie loaded with tension and double-crossing, this movie is your next binge, now streaming on Netflix. Number 4. Time to Hunt. This is a dark, high-stakes Korean dystopian thriller that slams you into desperation and danger from the first second. The story follows 4 friends, Jun-seok, Ki-hoon, Jang-ho, and Sang-soo, who plan a daring heist to escape a broken, impoverished society. But when their plan works, they become the targets of a relentless assassin who begins hunting them one by one. The mission meant to free them becomes a violent fight for their lives. What pulls you in is the unrelenting tension, the sense of claustrophobic danger, and the bonds of friendship tested under fire. The chase is merciless, the violence is raw, and every twist keeps you guessing. It's dark, emotionally charged, and impossible to look away from. If you want a pulse-pounding, dystopian action thriller packed with strategy, survival, and high-octane suspense, this movie is the one you queue up next, now streaming on Netflix. Number 3. Unstoppable. This is a ruthless, emotionally charged Korean action movie that slams you into desperation from the first second. The story follows Kang Dong-chol, a former legendary gangster turned quiet seafood distributor whose wife is suddenly kidnapped by a sinister trafficking ring. He's forced back into his old life fists, fury, and all to wage a brutal one-man rescue mission. As he tears through the underworld, he confronts a powerful syndicate that won't go down easily. What pulls you in is the emotional intensity and raw brutality. Dong-chol's love for his wife fuels every punishing fight, and each clash feels personal. The action is visceral, the corruption is deep, and the stakes are life and death. If you want a high-impact, no-holds-barred action ride where redemption fights its way through violence, Unstoppable is your next binge, now streaming on Netflix. Number 2. Veteran.
내가 죄짓고 살지 말라 그랬지.
This is a gritty, high-stakes Korean crime movie that throws you straight into a world of corruption and power from the first scene. The story follows Seo Do-chol, a relentless police detective who never backs down, as he takes on Jo Tae-oh, a wealthy and ruthless heir. Their clash ignites a dangerous game of wits and fists, with Do-cheol pushing to bring justice, while Tae-oh uses every advantage to stay untouchable. What pulls you in is the mix of high-octane action and sharp tension car chases, brutal hand-to-hand fights, and a cat-and-mouse game that keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's fast, thrilling, and impossible to look away from. If you want a pulse-pounding crime thriller packed with grit, cunning, and nonstop action, Veteran is your next binge, now streaming on Netflix. Number 1. Ballerina.
내가 너 지옥까지 쫓아갈 거야.
This is a razor-sharp Korean revenge thriller that hits with style, fury, and zero hesitation a full-speed descent into grief, rage, and beautifully choreographed violence. The story follows Ok-ju, a former bodyguard with lethal skills and a laser-focused mind, who sets out to avenge her best friend Min-hee after she becomes the victim of a predatory criminal. What begins as a simple act of payback turns into a relentless hunt through clubs, hideouts, and criminal dens, each step pushing Ok-ju deeper into a world that underestimates her until it's too late. What makes this movie hit hard is the precision: clean, brutal action sequences, striking visuals, and a heroine who doesn't waste a breath. The pacing is tight, the style is bold, and every confrontation lands with impact. If you want a fierce, visually stunning revenge story driven by a cold, unstoppable lead, Ballerina is the one you queue up next, now streaming on Netflix. Those were the top 10 highly brutal best Korean action movies. Hiding on Netflix and Prime you need to check out. Now, which one are you watching first? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you just found your next heart-pounding binge, smash that like button, subscribe for more ruthless action, and don't go anywhere because my next video dives even deeper into jaw-dropping fights, shocking twists, and movies that will leave you breathless.